Back to 11 Alive midday. A team from the National Weather Service is in Georgia surveying Troup County for storm damage. That strong system left its mark through West Georgia and much of metro Atlanta. Take a look at the situation in Hogansville right now. This is about 40 miles south and west of the airport. Trees brought down power lines and damaged property. At one point, this area was under a tornado warning. The National Weather Service just arrived to confirm whether there was, in fact, a tornado. 11 Alive's Dan Kennedy is there. Dan, clear skies, but sure cold as they're doing their work right now. Any updates?
Yeah, exactly. The power crew is still out here working to get power back on. In fact, one resident just came outside to say they have their lights back finally after more than 30 hours in the dark. And just within the last 5 minutes, the National Weather Service has arrived, escorted here to the scene by the Hogansville Police Department. So the gentleman in the green there on his phone is with the National Weather Service. He's going to be taking pictures of some of the damage out here. One of his colleagues was in a helicopter circling overhead moments ago. So they're looking above, they're looking on the ground, and then they're also going to look at radar from yesterday to determine whether this was a tornado. These are some of the things they're going to be looking at too, is some of the damage left behind, how this was split, not just the power poles, but the trees. And we can also report one injury from this area. In all of Troup County, there was one injury yesterday. This is video associated with that injury. It was a Hogansville police officer. He was driving about 40 miles per hour in a dark highway when he slammed into a tree that had just fallen down. He is okay, though. He has since been treated and released from the hospital. And then this video is of the only home in Hogansville that had a tree land on it. That's a brand new home, only a few months old. There were people inside, but they were not hurt. The police chief gave us a tour of the damage this morning and said, seems like every tree that fell on a power line. And this is what the chief said when I asked him his thoughts on tornado versus straight line winds.
What we were finding to begin with were just trees pulled up by the roots. So my first thoughts were the straight line winds, the gusts, the strong gusts. As we got later in the day, digging further in, we started finding the trees that were snapped off halfway up, some of them that were twisted. My opinion is, yeah, there was probably a funnel.
So we should know by the end of today what the National Weather Service says if they determine there was in fact a tornado here, if it was mostly just straight line winds that caused this damage. Cheryl will be watching closely for that. Also watching closely on the latest numbers from Power. Diverse Power says at the height of this storm, 16,000 people countywide were in the dark. Now it's down to a couple thousand. And finally, people here on Oak Street do have the lights back on. Reporting live in Hogansville, Dan Kennedy, 11 Alive News.
Yeah, been a long stretch for those folks without power, Dan. Glad for the progress there. Thanks a lot.